There is a crazy kind of challenge that I decided to take on Monday as soon as the market opened. And you know me, I'm always curious about the limits. I always want to push the boundaries when it comes to trading. And a perfect opportunity presented itself on Monday. Now I decided to deposit $20 into my trading account, and that was what was standing between me, the NASDAQ, and, well, let's just say a mountain of profit. And you're about to see exactly what happened. Trading the NASDAQ, I am heading for the gap. It's a Monday. Everything makes perfect sense. My entire $20 is on the line for this challenge. But then again, you always need a stop loss. So I placed a tight $10 stop loss. We are either going big or we are going home. Now fast forward a few hours later that evening. How much do you think this account currently hold? And as you already know, I am always obliterating the NASDAQ, so we really don't have to check how much we have in the account. all right, I got you right. Did you think that was the end of the story? Well, it was the end of this account because it definitely blew. And that was me on Monday when I saw a market gap, and I was super excited that the market was going to close the gap on that particular day. I decided to risk a $20 account to close the gap. But hey, that's trading, right? When you decide to take a risk, you already know that sometimes it does pay off and sometimes, well, it does not. But do you know what is paying off right now? A quick update for our trades for this week. I'm actually up $3,000 on my 90K 10 trade account. I don't know if you can see that. On my 90K 10 trade account, I am up $3,500, and I've just entered the NASDAQ trade that is currently running right now. So we've made a total of $3,700 profit, $3,700 in profit. And you know, the commission is kind of like crazy there, and the swap. I also held the trade overnight for quite some time. If it's not visible, this is the little screenshot here. I mean, the whole details of the funded accounts will come in a whole separate video. You know that we were trading FTMO, and I'm left with just like a few hundreds of dollars to pass this evaluations trade, which was really crazy, especially when the market was dropping. As you can see, that red is a lot, right? So I think my risk to reward on this particular one is absolutely bonkers, right? But then either way, I was able to recover with these two beautiful trades. As you can see, I literally had like a good trading day that day. I decided to risk a little bit, took 5 lots, and made roughly $3,000 from, you know, that particular trade on the NASDAQ. I was really in that day on the market, but that's for a whole nother video. As for the funded accounts, they're looking absolutely lovely, and I'm also trading my own personal account. It's also running on NASDAQ right now. It just has $1,000. So yes, that's about it. It seems as if I'm currently trading a lot of accounts, and I'm looking at it right now. I'm just hoping that this NASDAQ trade will play out as good as we want it to. If it does, you definitely see the result. Well, if it does, well, if it does not, whatever the case is, you will see the results during the weekly analysis on Sunday. Yes, it's a beautiful Sunday, and as you can see, things have taken a really dramatic turn. But before we dive into that, before we talk about it, we had an absolutely incredible week. Really beautiful moves that we had on the NASDAQ for the last week. So let's just take a quick look back on Monday. As you can see, we kicked off the week with a bang right here, catching the gap for 530 pips. It was an absolutely a lovely move. I told the inner circle that I was closing my trades right now, and they can close too. And then obviously on Tuesday we jumped right into the NASDAQ, and here we caught a lovely move for plus 140 pips that were here. Wednesday we never had a trade. We stayed patient and did not force anything because we did not actually have any setup. And then on Thursday, obviously, as you can see, I spotted another beautiful opportunity on the NASDAQ, and I gave a limit order at this level right here. So we actually entered a bit early before the limit order was triggered, and we caught the move, rode it up for a fantastic 210 pips right now on the NASDAQ. This was also the close of the gap which was a really beautiful trade that everyone was looking forward to. I actually caught it as soon as the gap was closing, jumped right into the trade. It was more of a sniper entry, and we rode the trade right up to the top. Now Friday, this is when things got really interesting. And remember that limit order that I had given right here on Thursday at this level, the limit order was actually triggered. It then gave us a beautiful, how many move was that? We had our first take profit, TP1 smashed, and a beautiful 80 pips before the fundamentals hit the market and reversed. So this is what we were looking at right now. So this was my limit order by NASDAQ at 19,690. 19,690 is around about this place. Right, at 19,690, let us just make the thing more accurate. So right at this level is the limit order that I had given for us, and that was triggered on Friday. That was right before the fundamentals hit, and then the market reversed, hitting our small stop loss. So I had a really tight stop loss at this level, and if the market had eventually reversed, we would have seen a nice movement here, because I was trading something like a trend line that we had around about this part right here. So obviously, if the market now breaks out of this trend line, it means that the setup had been disrespected. So even with that reversal, the week still ended in profit. And if we do the math, shall we had 535 pips, 140, 210, and a little bit of 80 pips before the market turned around. Let's just say we lost like 100 pips. That's already over 900 to 1,000 pips for the week, right? So that's what we secured in our first, not even first, in the 4 days of trading for the week, with one losing trade. Not bad at all. So this just goes to show that even with the unexpected market shifts like we had on Friday, having a solid strategy and capitalizing on good opportunities that you see in the market throughout the week can lead to significant and overall gains in the long run. Now let's talk about Friday, right? That was not an isolated incident that just happened on the NASDAQ, if we're looking at it like here, right? So we saw a significant sell off across the whole board. As you can see right here, only gold is what is positive on my chart, and honestly this move was quite sharp, right, and perhaps very unexpected by a lot of people in the short term. Looking at technical analysis, the things were looking really good. They were looking one way, but then we had underlying fundamentals, while that came hinting something else entirely. So if we check out a little bit of news right now, the US stocks went down, trade war fears were reignited. Remember, I had said that we are seeing an end of that, but no, the market has something else, and you should get this right. Inflation is back on the menu. That is what we're looking at on the market, and it's hotter than expected as we are seeing this. The Fed's favorite inflation gauge has just spiked up to the top, and NASDAQ took a huge hit, down over plus 3%. And why is that? Because sticky inflation means that there's higher rates for longer, right, crushing those growth in the stocks. And you should understand this, the consumer confidence just tanked to its lowest since 2022. So people are definitely worried, right? And this is not just a dip, this is a potential shift in the market narrative, right? So yeah, those promising setups that I had dropped also in the free signal group, if we can just check that out. I did drop one or two, I think, setups right here. We're also looking at the NASDAQ. As you can see, this was US 30, right, expecting a bounce off of this trend line. Even the NASDAQ wage was. So we had really promising setups for Friday, and the fundamentals just ripped the rug from under these setups that we had. And this is the market throwing to us a curveball, and we just need to be ready to swing, right? That's why this week's analysis is absolutely critical, and we are breaking down this chaos, finding the real opportunities, and figuring out how we are going to navigate this new landscape that we have in the market. So let's dive right into it. It's going to be a really exciting week. Remember, it is NFP week. We're going to have crazy news for this week, and you just want to be prepared for everything. But if you're new, find the channel for the first time, welcome. We trade the NASDAQ over here. If you're returning, welcome back. You know what's up. Don't forget to hit that like button, turn your post notifications, and subscribe to the channel, because we are obliterating the markets right over here. Now let's just go on to the NASDAQ. So should we start with US 30, as you can see right now? So I was playing around with my charts, and as you can see, I was trying to figure out what exactly is happening in this market. And obviously, you don't really want to ever have your charts looking like this, right? So I'm going to explain these trend lines and what I've figured out. Let me just start by clearing everything, because I want it to make a lot more sense. So right now it's not hard to see that the sellers are currently in control of this market and the bulls have to relax. So it's going to be that week that we're just going to be chilling, relaxing, because I like to go with the overall trend, and currently the sellers are dominating and my bullish buyers may be taken out a lot of times. But the very first thing we want to do is technical analysis, and of course that's going to include our trend lines. And the very first trend line we'll draw is the overall trend that we are seeing over here, and this gap from where the market currently is to, if it gets to this level, which is going to be a really nice support area, is too large, right? So for us to see this happen, that we have to wait for like a couple of months or so, right? So we're going to take our trend and draw a trend within that trend, and if we do that, you can clearly see that this trend line was broken out of 2 weeks ago when this whole tariff war started. That is when we saw this break of this trend line, and this little bullish week that we had last week, we really had good trades and thought that the market was gaining back its momentum. And clearly this week, the on Friday, yes, the market was actually gaining momentum. You can clearly see a little push to these levels before Friday stepped in, and the consumer prices just pushed the market right back down. So this look right over here is not good at all. We're seeing more like a break, a retest of this trend line, and this is pure technical analysis. You can clearly see that this is showing us that market has to drop to a certain level, right? So what I like to do is to mark up my points of interest, the next resistance zone that I might be able to catch the market. So from the weekly trend line, that's going to be a really long way because I'm targeting this area right here. So I want to just explain the price action that's behind this candlestick that you're seeing. So normally when people are looking at it, you might see this as morning star setup, more or less. I don't know, morning star. And I am not looking at it like that. I'm looking at it as a support area, a strong support area. Why? Because imagine the buyers were pushing the market initially, right? The sellers stepped into the market. The sellers pushed this market down with so much momentum. They got to this level and they were pushed right back up. Now when they were pushed right back up, look at the momentum that the buyers stepped in with. It shows that this area is a really strong zone. Now that is why I am targeting this level to buy US30 if it gets to this level, like after the sellers have relaxed and chilled. So I can't really say that this is a support area that we're having, but maybe if we drop to the lower time frames to see. But as for the weekly time frame, this is exactly what I will be looking at on US30, right? So let's go and see what we are looking at on the smaller time frame. So if we go on to the smaller time frames, then we might have something interesting. So this is now like for a day-to-day basis. Now the very same explanation that I gave is exactly what is happening here. You can clearly see that this area is also a strong support area because the sellers were selling the market. They got to this level and they were pushed, rejected right back, showing that this is a really strong support area, that if the market gets to that level, then we definitely want to start buying. So as for US30, this is exactly what I will be looking to buy in these areas. As for the short term, we can clearly see that we also had the trend line that we were looking at, like this, and the market has disrespected all of these levels. Now if it does end up coming, well, here is a good support area, but since we are seeing strong selling momentum here, the very first thing we want to see before we enter any buying trades at this level is to see buyers actually stepping into this market and trying to push it right back up. That is how you're going to be doing your top down analysis. I mean, they did try to push the market up at this level. You see they got to this level here and then they stepped in for a moment, but then they could not hold, and then they formed this more like a belt candlestick, and obviously this is a sign that the market has to keep tanking down. So before we see that happening where the buyers are stepping in decisively with good momentum, then we definitely don't want to buy any of these stocks unless they start showing us really bullish momentum. But then that's exactly one and the same thing that we are seeing on the NASDAQ also. As you can see, the market just tanked right back down there. But let's just go on to the weekly time frame so we can make a more detailed analysis. Just the same way I drew the weekly trend line and the trend within the trend on US30, it's exactly what we're looking at on the NASDAQ. And as you can see, the market has broken out. This is a really nice breakout that we're having on this NASDAQ trade, and the same levels that I was marking up as a support area on US30, and for the very same reasons is exactly what I'm marking up on the NASDAQ right now. So if we go on to the daily time frame, on a daily time frame, we can clearly see that currently these sellers are definitely in control. And also, I don't like this level. Why? Because a lot of eyes are looking at this level, right? We have a lot of people that are going to be buying at these levels, and obviously as the market breaks out, we're going to have a lot of sellers that are going to be selling. So here we're going to have a lot of orders at this point here, so it's going to be really a lot of chaos in the market. So I would rather wait for it to get to really nice zones, probably to probably somewhere around about here, because we do see a nice push. The buyer stepped in, but I prefer this zone because it's more hot than that other zone that we're having. And also, if we go to our 4-hour time frame, you can clearly see that this looks like a liquidated trap, actually, as we're having 4 equal lows at this zone. Then a lot of retail traders are actually looking to buy at our support, right? You buy at support and sell at resistance. So that's definitely what's going to be happening here. And want to be careful. So there's a lot of money that's also resting in these areas. Let me just highlight that we're having a lot of money resting in these areas here, and you want to be careful here, because the only thing you want to see the market doing is to show you that these sellers have lost momentum here, and they have started to step in to the market. And this is probably going to be like for a couple of 4-hour candles, where it plays around and then forms a little bit of a range here, and then finally breaks out of it. If it plays like that, and then when it breaks out of it, then obviously you now have a reference point. Then you can dive right into the trade and know that maybe they want to write it up. But the first candlestick that you might see here might be a trap, and then might break out after you have entered. So you want to keep in mind that the overall trend and everything has currently been broken out of, and you definitely want to be very careful on that market when we're looking at it like this, right? So that's about it. Let's go over onto gold looking absolutely gorgeous. I mean, this is the only chart. Just look at this movement. This is the only chart that's, I don't know, you definitely can't just join this type of movement. You have to either be in the gold trade or you're not going to just catch it at all. I mean, we've been waiting for a retracement on gold for quite some time, and we just have not seen anything like that right happening, because it's just retracing for a couple of candles and then just pushes a right straight up. Look at this bullish momentum candles that we're having for 2 days in a row on gold, for Thursday and Friday. Absolutely gorgeous, right? So gold is following a little trend line that we can draw right at this level here, and the only thing that makes sense is to join the trade when the market retraces a little bit and comes into these areas respecting the trend line again, because other than that we actually cannot see a movement on gold right now that we can enter into. I wouldn't want to actually trade these levels here, because the risk to reward is not that much. As gold is already at these levels, it's more of like scary for me to enter. Let's say it retraces to this new support that it just formed here, then the stop loss, I definitely can't put my stop loss in this level here, because my stop loss definitely always has to be outside a certain trend line or a certain resistance zone. So I would rather wait for the market to come into this level first before I can dive into the gold trade. And here I'll be having a better risk to reward, because if the market comes into these areas, then I'll definitely put my stop loss somewhere around about this spot, and we'll now be targeting this area, something like this. So the risk to reward will look absolutely fantastic on gold. So it's definitely going to be a waiting game again, and nothing too crazy going on in the market, but we definitely have to exercise patience. If you're always going to be going long on the stocks like I do, you definitely have to sit down and just watch the market playing out for this week if we don't see the buyer stepping in. But if you're someone that's going to be selling, going against the overall trend, then this is definitely one of those weeks that you can shine in the market right now. But that's about it. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and if you did enjoy this video, don't forget to hit that like button, turn your post notifications, and subscribe to the channel. You feel me with that? It's Tino, and I'll see you in the next lit video. Love you guys.